Hi, my name is Arek. I'll explain a few things about roller skis. In front of me is the V9 Fire model with a 200mm tire. What is its main feature? Besides having a one-way bearing that only spins in one direction, it also has a platform that holds the foot at the midfoot, just behind the ball of the foot, and it doesn't go any further. So we have a movable heel, and that's it. The model is more suited for skating and climbing hills, which it handles well, but the climbs will be relatively short because this roller ski has a locked midfoot, so you don't rise onto your toes like with the Tour model. The Tour model additionally has a spring and one more joint, allowing for greater tilt, whereas here it is locked in this position. That's the main difference. Besides, of course, the fact that it has green rims compared to the Tour model, which has black ones, the tires are identical and the frame is slightly shorter by about a centimeter. Let's go back to the Fire model for a moment. I wanted to tell you about the nuances of this model. These nuances are repeated in the variations of the V9 Tour model, but now we're recording for the V9 Fire, so I'll talk about them. If you're watching this, pay attention because it's important to know that you have three settings, essentially three holes to adjust the frame height relative to the ground. In other words, to change the center of gravity. Naturally, the lower it is, the easier it is to maintain balance. The higher it is, the easier it is to hop over curbs, pebbles, and sticks. That's why there are these three heights. However, the last hole is for the model with 150mm tires, so with 200mm tires, it's practically unused. You can then be really high, but it's relatively unnecessary because this height handles most obstacles you need to go over. So it's more convenient to ride here and effectively go over all obstacles. This height is recommended for beginners because in fact the frame is the lowest, making it easiest to find the center of gravity. It's the easiest for those early stages where everything can be somewhat challenging to get accustomed to. Therefore, make sure to do the initial setup at this height. After some time, you can switch to the middle setting. One of the great and convenient features of this model, which is somewhat unique, is that unlike most equipment where you have to push your foot through the binding, this model uses Velcro and clips that allow you to place your foot here easily, making it quick to put on or take off the equipment. Note that the straps can be removed by sliding this part down so that the clip here catches this element and holds your foot in place to prevent it from slipping out while riding. Whether you have a high arch or a longer or shorter foot, you can adjust this element to ensure it is centered comfortably on your foot. This can be moved as your foot allows, so we have 1, 2, and similarly in this model 3. Usually, when you finish skiing, you leave the equipment like this so you can step onto the roller ski with your boot and then quickly fasten it. You can fasten the roller ski from both the right and the left. meaning if we're talking about the foot, I can fasten it from right to left as I just did, but I can just as easily do it from left to right. It's symmetrical, however, it's different with the upper element. Notice that the upper element is shorter on one side and longer on the other. This indicates that the longer part is for the left foot. A further confirmation of this is the label here, which is correctly indicated at the moment, saying left, not upside down. When right is on this side, notice that on the other side it is upside down if you look at it this way. The fact that it leans more to the left indicates that this is the left roller ski, and in this case it is much harder to unclip it from the right side from the inside. Why? Because it is hidden, meaning the clip is concealed behind the plastic holder that secures our calf. Therefore, this element is usually unfastened from the outer side. So I do not recommend unfastening it from the inner side between the legs, but rather from the outer side. A very important nuance is this element which adjusts the volume of our calf to ensure the roller ski stands straight. Besides the fact that you can adjust it for different calf sizes, you can also use this to regulate your safety by setting it in a position that makes it harder to tip outward. The roller ski will pull the user more towards the center. This makes it more difficult to shift your center of gravity and fall. Ultimately, you should aim towards the center. It definitely won't be the exact center, but you should aim towards it to avoid forces that push you either outward or inward, shortening the skating stride, whether outward or inward, shortening the stride, whether outward or inward. An important nuance here is to ensure that this element is not too loose. So besides the fact that, as you can see, there is a kind of gear or teeth here that hold it in place, if this element is too loose, it won't move, but it will wobble. When the user doesn't hold the roller ski in this spot, they will experience some discomfort, because when pushing off to the left side, in this case, wanting to lean nicely on the entire arm, they will encounter additional slack, causing discomfort. Therefore, I definitely recommend always doing this tightly and firmly so that you can actually lean on this spot. A very important thing, another nuance, a very important thing is if you feel that some forces are pulling you inward or outward to improve your comfort, don't do it aggressively. That means if you move it this much or this much, really a millimeter to the right makes a big difference. So do it by millimeters. Of course, you can stand on the equipment and adjust it by millimeters. Now I'll talk about the brake. As you can see, the brake is quite easy to adjust. You need to adjust it so that pay attention to this spot. You need to unfasten it. which means gently lifting it, and now you can slide it comfortably. There is no single setting. It depends on the build of your calf. The user should adjust it so that when standing straight, the roller skis move without breaking, but when the knee is overextended, the brake touches the tire, and through this friction, the speed decreases. The harder you press, the greater the braking force, making it more effective. It is really a very safe brake. Another nuance I want to mention now is what I call the heel piece. Notice that through this heel piece you can adjust the length of the foot, either extending it more forward or backward. I recommend setting this heel piece as far back as possible. To do this, you need to loosen these screws as well as the same screws on the other side and move the heel piece all the way back, making sure that these elements do not overlap, meaning the heel piece and the element that holds the calf. In any case, by pulling this element behind the heel backward, we shift the body weight onto the rear tire, which makes it much easier for the front tire to jump over pebbles and sticks, giving us greater freedom and smoother movement. Another nuance regarding the tires, I wanted to tell you that the tires wear out relatively slowly. They are durable. You can expect to get around 3,000 kilometers out of them. Of course, it all depends on the terrain you ride on, especially for the rear tires. If there are a lot of hills and the brake puts additional stress on the tire, it will wear out faster. Typically, tires wear out more on the inner side. For example, if I have the left roller ski right now, the tire will wear out more on the inner side. To ensure even tire wear and achieve those 3,000 kilometers, you just need to rotate the tires because the equipment is symmetrical, meaning the right and left sides are the same. Two elements indicate asymmetry. One is this protruding part. If this roller ski is currently the left one, by switching it like this, it becomes the right one. Another element that can help you mark which side you're riding on is the light, which can be easily switched. By moving the light to the other side, you'll indicate that the equipment is now on the right foot. Another nuance is the bearings, which provide a lot of stability, especially when the equipment is new. New equipment is characterized by the fact that these pivot bearings are tight, meaning there is no play here. Over time, these bearings wear down due to use, becoming smaller in circumference, which results in more play. Riding on this equipment can then cause some discomfort because the roller ski will wobble more and won't hold as effectively. So pay attention to whether there is any play in this area. Listen, an important nuance, the difference between the Fire model and the V9 Tour model. I generally call the V9 Tour a complete model because you can perform all cross-country skiing styles on it, both classic and skating styles. You can also do this on the Fire model, but it's more difficult. I'll show you what this difficulty is about. In the Fire model, because the foot is caught in the midfoot, when you want to perform classic steps, which are essentially a one-sided stride, notice that you will either do it very narrowly, or if you want to do it widely, meaning a big step onto one leg, remember, or you need to know that skiing or roller skiing is essentially moving in what's called a single support step. And to actually step onto that one leg in this model, the rear wheel will definitely lift off the ground. As a result, the user will have some difficulty ensuring that the roller ski doesn't collide with the other ski or slip away when switching legs. All the grip will be on one roller ski, unlike the Tour model, where both tires are constantly, you could say, in line. In this model, it is more challenging and demanding for the roller skier.